Week three. Let's get down to breakdowns of the wide receivers. My wide receiver 3 is a combination this week. Has to do with Achane from Miami, a running back, and Quentin Johnston. Why is this important? Look, week 2, Achane gets back in. He only gets 6 snaps. Against Denver, week 3, he gets 30 snaps. This is a guy he's not going to get you to 30, 40, 50, 60, depending on what kind of league you're in. It ranges between 30 all the way up to 60. I don't know if it's 70, but 60 points because of how and what he did, catching, receiving. I believe this is a young man who will contribute. He's not going to take over the starting role, but he is going to get more than 6 snaps. And I believe the Miami Dolphins had 100 plays last week, and he received 30 of those 100 plays. I don't believe that is going to be a sustainable snap count. I would imagine he will probably get between 15 to 17 snaps, but I do not believe he's going to get 200 yards again rushing for all those touchdowns. I just don't see that happen.
You don't think week to week we can rely on 4 touchdowns and 200 plus total yards? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
That's fool's gold.
We'll see.
Situational football with Achane, and then that moves me into Quentin Johnston. Week 2, he had 10 snaps. Week 3, 16. Because of the situation by Mike Williams, now he is thrusted into that number 3 spot. So I would imagine probably 20 plus snaps per game. I would imagine that his role will increase. He will start to get a little bit more hands-on. They will learn what he can, what he can't do. And the only way you can do that is by getting him more snaps, getting him more opportunities. Less roles of when he's in the game, he's getting the ball, but now he's just part of the play, not the ball is going to him when he's in the game.
Right, because my immediate question is, sure, he slides into that wide receiver 3 role, but if you look at the pecking order, I mean, Keenan Allen had 18 receptions on 20 targets this week. Palmer steps up. They've got Everett, who they've liked since he got there. Every time they get to the red zone, Herbert's been locked in on Parham all season thus far. And Eckler's been out, but when he comes back, he's a big part of the receiving game as well. So even if he's out there just running routes, how does that help him? I'm not even talking the fantasy aspect of it, but how does that help him acclimate to the NFL?
Well, it works for both fantasy and regular football. Is his impact will be week to week, and it also depends on his opponent. Obviously, there are some defenses that are better than others. Depending on the opponent, depending on the game plan, is the emphasis running a football or is the emphasis passing a football? We're not sure. And so when you're not sure, when you're not actually in the huddle, in the plays, in the meetings, you don't know the game plan. And did you know the Minnesota Vikings are ranked 18th in the NFL prior to week 3 in blitzing? Man-to-man coverage, 31. Ranked 31. They run man-to-man coverage 20%. Talking about you just don't know week to week. Man, they blitz Justin Herbert 82% of the time out of his 50 drop-back passes. Week to week, you cannot predict what's going on.
How much of that is it's a new DC in Minnesota and he's trying to install? You know what I mean?
Well, the DC is your guy.
That's what I mean. And from knowing him in New England, it was always like, we're going to slow roll. It's going to be very base the first month of the season, and then we're going to add more blitzing, more complex coverages and schemes. And Minnesota's defense, just the personnel, even last year, wasn't very good to begin with. So how much of that is like, yeah, I'm trying to put forward a new scheme back here. I just don't have my kind of horses yet.
I'm using it as an example of week to week because you just don't know. So with these two guys, gets back to these two guys, I'm not going to say start them. I don't even know if stashing them is right. I think you just kind of flex them, right? You look at those guys and say, hey, you got to expect that flex. That's going to be 6 to 10 points. Now, I don't know if that's something that's enough in a flex position that you can utilize. But to put these guys in a starting position, you're going to be disappointed. Not because these guys will disappoint you, is the role as starter in your fantasy and the role that they're in is not starting role.
Yeah, with QJ, definitely a stash to me. I'd much rather be a week late than a week early with him because he's going to put up some zeros, some ones, some twos, and that's just the product of where he's at right now in his career. I don't see that
Today,
long term.
not every
today.
day, just today.
With Achane, I'm curious because Mostert and Jeff Wilson, who's already hurt, throughout their careers have been banged up. So he's a guy I could see getting that starting role just by staying healthy. Not this week, but eventually. But with the Dolphins specifically, Mike McDaniel all offseason was on record saying we got to figure out the run game more. We got to figure out the run game more. They used that wide zone against the Patriots 2 weeks ago now, and it was hell. So it does seem like he's more committed to running the ball. Mostert, of course, being that lead back right now. But this was a game also against Denver. Waddle didn't even play. So do you see kind of the same pecking order problem happening with Miami once Waddle is back?
No, Mostert's already shown that he can play. He runs the ball in between the tackles, outside. He can catch as well. They're going to continue to keep running the football. They have to. But they're also going to continue to keep going with the high hand. This is a running back. Mike McDaniels is the running back, was the run game coordinator for a very long time with Kyle Shanahan, and one of the best minds in understanding and seeing where and how the running game will be successful against each team each week. Running back by committee has always been that way. When you go back to the San Francisco 49ers, when McDaniel was there, they had Matt Breida. They had Raheem Mostert, right? They had who else did they have?
Jeff Wilson. They're all in Miami now.
Yes. They had all these guys that keep rotating. And then now Miami, even last year, they had guys after guys that they will continue to rotate. He believes in having fresh running backs hit the whole stretch because the more you can do that, the better it opens up the play action.
For sure. But for me, it wasn't even like, oh, it's a blowout. Let's get the young kids some reps. That was early in the game when it was still technically a game. They were getting him involved. So to me, that's where I'm more comfortable playing Achane over QJ if I were to have both on my team as early as this week. You just heard it straight from Agent 89. De'Von Achane, maybe not the most consistent week to week. I may disagree. I don't think Buffalo's got any answers for Achane, but that's where you come in. You can draw your own conclusion over at Underdog Fantasy. Open that app, enter promo code WR1, that's wide receiver 1, and you'll get a deposit match bonus up to $100. And we're going to slide in a little special line for you for this upcoming week of games. So go on over, Underdog Fantasy, download the app, open the app, sign up, deposit, and win some cash based on what you heard on Cut to It. What is something that only comes with being a veteran in terms of moves to make just to create a little bit of extra separation? I know they always show like not a full push off with an extension, but just kind of like a wrist.
Wing.
Yeah, just like a little
chicken wing.
Just to try and get out. Like, so what are some things that can only come with true game reps?
Here's what they call it. It's only pass interference if you extend the hand on offense or defense impede the receiver from catching the football. Or you're running your route and you do this, you lean into the guy before you go out. Right? He's running with you, you lean into him, just like that. So when you see it, that's also what I talk about, indicator step. It's an indicator step because it's your step. Why you have to have an indicator step is you're telling multiple people. You're telling the quarterback that you're about to break. You're telling the corner that you're about to break. You're telling the umpire, this is my pattern. So right, I'm proving a pattern, not making it personal. So when I'm proving this pattern is I'm running this indicator step just like that, right? Nobody's on me. Still running a quick out. Somebody's on me. Running a quick out. Now did you see it? Did you see the slight difference?
Mm-hmm.
Let me rewind it. Let me rewind. Indicator step. Oh, now when somebody's on me. Look at you see that? You see that? You see this thing right there? Something small and technical.
But wide receiver 2, Jayden Reed. The first question.
Yeah, boy.
When Christian Watson does come back, what happens to Jayden Reed? What happens, perhaps, to Romeo Doubs? What happens to this Packers offense as a whole?
I think it just gets better and better. They have all these guys under 24, under 25 years old. Right. So looking at this, he was last week 3, he was targeted 7 times, 3 catches, 3 first downs. Unfortunately, 2 drops. Where does Christian Watson line up? Christian Watson, 2022. Jayden Reed was not there.
Mm-hmm.
Christian lined up 67% of the time out wide. Only 32% of the time he was in the slot. Reed, 78, basically 79% of the time he's in the slot. They already have Reed already in the position that they need him to be before their guy comes. When Reed is there and Watson is there, I would say you got Watson out wide, Christian right there. Christian outside, Reed inside, and you go cool little scissors route. Boom, he goes that way, they go that way. Now they got all of a sudden, but what you're gonna have is Watson with speed, Reed with a little wiggle, right? Give him a little shimmy, corner. Now all of a sudden you got 2 receivers with 2 different styles. One's a vertical, one's a horizontal, one's a vertical threat, one's a horizontal threat. All of a sudden things get for the defense gets fuzzy. It gets interesting. It gets difficult because you can't peg a guy. You can lock him down. One guy may get locked down, but then all of a sudden you got to have speed. Then all of a sudden Reed does have that ability. He can run away from you too. Right. You watch the way they implement him in this offense without Watson. They're giving him a lot of the creative routes. The routes where it's a double move. It's a move where he sets him up. He's isolating him. He has to make the defender make a decision now. Linebacker covering him, corner, putting him in motion. All the different things. To me, Watson is Jordy Nelson. Reed is Randall Cobb. Where you got, little shiftiness in the inside. But, Cobb back in the day when he was first out of Kentucky, when he first got to Green Bay, man, they give it to him 10, 12 yards, and he'll get out in the open field. Mm-hmm. That's what I kind of see this combination as. I think they're developing a 4 wide, or kind of like what Sean Payton used to do when he was in New Orleans, is you have packages of people. When this package of guys are in, we're going intermediate. When this package is in, we're going touchdown to intermediate. When this guy's in, it's balls to the wall, it's all goes. Right? So I think that's what they're formulating and trying to figure out and see what's the best route combination with the group of guys once they get all of them back together.
So when Watson comes back, Reed, you would still start?
I think he's a flex.
Okay.
He was targeted 7 times.
Right. Yeah. So
a starter is not getting targeted 7 times.
So you're looking for like 9 targets, somewhere around there?
Yes.
Okay.
9 to 10 targets.
Okay.
And even in this pass happy league, that's still not a lot.
Tank Dell, wide receiver 1 this week, 145 yards, I believe.
5 receptions, 145 yards. Yep.
how much of a weapon is it for also another young quarterback? Two of these teams we've talked about have very young quarterbacks. Obviously, Love's been in the league longer, but this is his first year as the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Stroud, 3 weeks in, has got the third most passing yards for a rookie ever. And a lot of that has to do with Tank Dell, especially this week, putting a $145.
He's 77% of the time he's lined up wide. Only 29% he's in the slot. 21 targets, 15 receptions, 251 yards, and average yards per reception 16.7. They're trying to make sure that everything that they need out of Tank later in the season, they're getting out the kinks earlier on. Have him playing out wide. See, can he block? They just don't have him in on pass plays. They have him in on run plays as well. He's still, he's still young. He's still young. He's figuring out how to get his leverage in the run game, how to get his leverage in the pass game. He's been doing some cool stuff that I really like seeing out of him. You can see he's gaining more and more confidence, right? Busted coverage is busted coverage. Not knocking him. I'm just saying busted coverage. He caught the hardest catch in football. The hardest catch in football isn't when somebody's draped over you. It's when nobody's around, the ball is coming, and it's just you. Your mind can play some tricks on you, and you can just start to. So he caught it, scored. It was awesome to see. So I guess what stash? I don't know.
Is that? I mean, it was a strange game. Stroud wasn't really hit, despite the fact the Texans line has been decimated with injuries this season. So can you expect him to have that much time on a week-to-week basis? Probably not. And that you would assume would affect all of the wide receivers' targets on that team. Nico Collins kind of having a year 3 breakout opposite of Tank Dell. And I'm sure it helps both of them if each of them keeps progressing the way people assume. So yeah, I think from a week-to-week basis, kind of play it on the matchup. Depends on who they're playing. Try and guess that way because I have no read on this Texans offense so far. Dameon Pierce hasn't been able to get anything going again because of the line. So yeah, I don't necessarily trust the Texans yet.
Yeah, so I really like these guys. The offense is up and down. It's going to be week to week, but you can see that once everything starts to come around, it's going to be fun to see how much of a step as the season goes that Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, and this offense can really go if the offensive line tightens up a little bit and gives them enough time that they can actually start to draw up some razzle-dazzle plays. Here in Carolina, people are hot as fish grease. I'm talking scolding. When disappointment sets in for a football fan, bro, it becomes complain university.
Mm-hmm.
The reviews are ridiculous. The complaining is mounting up from I don't like how long in seat 452 is 1,700 steps away from my seat to the restroom. I mean, the complaints of the structure, everything. It's just Pandora's complaining box is wide open. Mm-hmm. And then the broadcaster, you're watching the games, and now everybody's a coach. Now everybody knows what's going to happen, and they know what to do. There's been some controversy. There's been some statements. Oh, do we have a quarterback controversy in Carolina? No, we don't have a quarterback controversy in Carolina. What we have is a quarterback difference in Carolina. I'm watching a game, and I'm going, these plays look awful different compared to when Bryce was in. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just watching the game. And then I said, you know what? I opened up with all the complaints. I'm not going to be a complainer. And I'm not complaining. I'm giving you an observation. It's not that it's looking differently and I'm nitpicking. It looks differently because it is different. I'm not drawing a conclusion to say that there's this big old plan to undermine anyone. I'm just making a point that what I saw in the football game and what I was thinking, I'm not off. They just seem to move the ball differently. And maybe it's because one guy's a veteran, one guy's a rookie. They all are different. That's true. But the offensive drive killing penalties or mistakes at the offensive line or drops by the wide receiver, there's not a separation issue. My humble opinion is there are different routes being ran by the wide receivers when Bryce is in the game in the first two games compared to, they didn't have DJ Chark.
Right.
But in the second game, they still didn't attempt enough deep passes early in the game to get the corner to believe I can beat you deep. When you can get a corner that he knows, hey, when I got beat, I did this and that, they're going to do that again. Mm-hmm. So that information is always key. It is. If the pass game is like your lawn, is a living, breathing organism that changes at the drop of a quarter. First quarter, it could be blossoming. Second quarter, it could be dead and dormant. Did you watch the Panthers game?
I saw some of the second half. I didn't watch the whole thing front to back. I kept this Sunday, much like the previous two Sundays, I was trying to find a game that was even a little interesting, and it's been hard thus far. It's been really hard. Yeah, I don't think it's been the best season. I think some of it's been matchup dependent, and I don't know that we've gotten a ton of good ones yet. And I watched Patriots-Jets. They were attempting football. I don't know how successful either team was at pulling it off. It was they were out there It really, that game shows the stranglehold the NFL has on the American public, because I know millions of people spent 3.5 hours of their day watching every second of Jets Patriots, where they could have been doing anything. Could have been doing charity work, could have been at the soup kitchen, could have been cleaning up the gutters. Nope. Well, some 15-10 ball is how I spent my afternoon. And it's kind of the exact same game they played last year, where a kick return was the only offensive touchdown scored. Now, we were blessed with 2 offensive touchdowns. Neither of them really earned. One was busted coverage to a third-string tight end. That was Pharaoh Brown with the Patriots. The other one was pass interference flop in the end zone. That got the Jets to the 1-yard line. The only time either team was in the red zone all game long. And then they punched it in with their fullback. So fullback and third-string tight end were the 2 touchdown scorers in this game. I'm sure Bill Belichick loved every second of that. I did not.
It's a struggle watching Zach Wilson.
It sure is.
It is a struggle. My man's feet is havoc. He has no ability to anticipate throws. He doesn't throw on rhythm. He doesn't go through his progressions. The offense is a shell of themselves. You just can't. And running the football, to run the football, why have you abandoned running the football when your quarterback has repeatedly shown you drop back pass after drop back pass that he cannot, will not, and lastly shall not go through his progressions adequately, fast enough, fundamentally, or just flat out do it?
I don't know what their longest run of the game was. It may have been 8 yards. I don't know that they broke double-digit yards on a run, but it's kind of like what you were talking about with the Panthers. When a team's not going to throw deep, which the Patriots were not worried about for 1 second on Sunday.
Even if they could, Zach Wilson could not read the defense to do it.
For sure. But it's like the Patriots defense was just like, go ahead and run it. We will be in the backfield. We're ready. Like the Jets offensive line, I thought it was fine. Like Zach had plenty of time. I think he was only sacked 3 times. One, of course, was a safety, but the Jets offensive line played I think their best game of the season, which again, not some high praise. They've been bad this year, but they were fine this game. And I think a lot of that was Bill being like, listen, go ahead, have as much time as you want back there. I know you don't know what you're looking at. I know you're not going to be able to get the ball to anyone. And Garrett, like their receiver core, fine for Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron Rodgers, it really is Garrett Wilson and nobody extra special. So that's where it's truly a team built for not Zach Wilson. So when Zach Wilson's out there, it's like, we know you have one truly explosive player here, and you can't get him the ball, especially because Christian Gonzalez has stepped in and assumed the CB1 role a lot easier than I anticipated. When we went over his tape at Oregon last year, I remember Michael Wilson gave him some trouble. There were a couple other
who else
receivers.
gave him some trouble? Let me shout him out, since Atlanta Falcons fan. If you go back and look at that film, Drake London gave him that work. I'm talking about work, though.
And that was 2 years ago when he was at Colorado. So you can
when he was at Colorado and Drake was at USC.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And you can see
that brother should have been brought up on charges. That's how bad he assaulted him. It was ridiculous.
Christian Gonzalez has allowed receivers to get open, per Next Gen's definition of open, 23.1% of the time in man coverage snaps. For reference, Sauce Gardner and Marshawn Lattimore, 2 really good corners, I think we would both agree with, have both allowed 33.3% open rates among corners with 30-plus man coverage snaps. So Christian Gonzalez has come in. He hasn't played bums now. He played A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and now Garrett Wilson. It looked like there were a couple of plays. Obviously, Zach Wilson had no idea Garrett Wilson was on the field. So Garrett Wilson was out there just getting his reps in. He was running his routes. And they would show it.
Garrett Wilson had his Fitbit on. He's like, man, I'm going to get these steps in today.
Yeah. I'm at least going to get some exercise, keep my lungs ready.
Hey, that boy's over there. Yep. 10,000 steps today.
But in those routes, like, he's still running them like a professional. He came into the league a professional route runner. He continues to be a professional route runner. Christian Gonzalez was kind of mirroring every move he's had. So
he did a good job.
Based on everything I've seen, obviously this wasn't his toughest test based on the quarterback not even attempting to get it into tight windows. Based on what I've seen, tremendous addition to a defense. Keon White's wreaked a lot of havoc up front. He's been tremendous. I just really enjoy this defense. People are getting on him for allowing even a single touchdown to this team. Again, they give up a touchdown a week. Like, if that's what the offense, if the offense can't build off that, then what are we talking about? The people who've been complaining about this defense for 3 years have completely missed the point about what's wrong with the Patriots.
There's some rumbling that there's a possibility that Kirk Cousins may be on the block, that he can land with the Jets. Can I just say something about Kirk Cousins?
Let's hear it.
I don't know why Kirk Cousins keeps getting blamed for all the problems for Minnesota. Kirk Cousins has a quarterback rating of 108. Kirk Cousins has, through 3 weeks, 1,000 yards passing. The last time I checked, Kirk Cousins plays quarterback, not cornerback. Is that correct?
Correct.
Quarterback, not cornerback. He doesn't play O-line, does he?
No.
I've read some things that, Kirk Cousins didn't show up. Kirk Cousins is delivering the football. Kirk Cousins did not decide to blitz Justin Herbert on 80% of his drop back passes. And Kirk Cousins is upset that he's getting blitzed on all his drop back passes. But Kirk Cousins did not call every single play. If Kirk Cousins goes to the New York Jets, I think that's a great call. Because Zach Wilson ain't helping you. And the fact that Robert Saleh keeps saying we're sticking with our guy, here's my question. Why? He ain't your guy, and why you sticking with him?
Well, the other options, and it's like Carson Wentz is like outside the stadium, like knocking on the door. And that's, to me, I'd rather play Zach Wilson.
Ooh, really?
What's the benefit to bringing in Carson? Like, Zach Wilson's not going to get better. Like, of course he's not going to get better.
And Carson Wentz is not going to make you better either.
Right. You're already paying him. Why pay two Zach Wilsons is my question. Why bring in the same guy? Matt Ryan also, and like Matt Ryan was really good, like Hall of Fame caliber career.
He was really good.
And then you see him last year, and it was just like,
he was really good.
Right, was. Yeah, that's the key word. So that's where it's like, I mean, Garrett Wilson thinks he's at the beginning of like a Disney Channel movie where it's just like, if we just believe, the power of belief will make Zach Wilson not suck as bad. Every week he's got a new T-shirt they put on the whole team. He's like, we're going to back our guy. And it's like, you could do anything short of having like a 6-man type situation where there's a little ghost out there controlling where the ball goes. Like, there's nothing that's going to change him there. For me, Kirk Cousins doesn't worry me in the slightest as not a Jets fan, as a fan of another team in the division, because even if Minnesota's defense is no good, which I agree with, Kirk Cousins got the ball on the 25 last week after Brandon Staley, for some reason, goes for it on 4th down in his own territory. Yeah. And then 2 plays later, he's throwing the ball to Kenneth Murray, who I think that's the first time Kenneth Murray's ever touched a football. He's not an interception guy. And it's because Kirk Cousins rushes. He gets caught up in the moment instead of just playing it out.
Okay. Why is he rushing?
I can't speak for that. I don't know.
He's rushing.
But it wasn't even rushing. He's letting the clock tick down, and then he rushes up to the line to call a play, and it's just like, it could be coaching. It very well could be coaching. But someone gives him the play, and then you react off of the play. But they're also in 2-minute drill, which I've never been to a Vikings practice. Maybe they don't practice 2-minute. I assume most teams do, though.
Yes, but in that 2-minute, you still have to they still have to give you the play or give you the instructions of what are we operating out of. 2-minute, hurry up, hand signal, words, tells everybody what to do, or the coach is telling me in my ear, and then I tell everybody what to do. You have the green dot. Not everybody else has the microphone. So we don't know what's going on, but to hang Kirk Cousins out, like it's all on him. Like he's blocking for himself. He's throwing it to himself. He's playing defense for the team. I just don't get the whole, it's all Kirk Cousins' fault. But Kirk Cousins out there, I think he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it's all his fault, but it's also,
let me say this,
it's year what? It's year 11?
Let me say this that I've been wanting. Kirk Cousins, he's the black cousin. He gets blamed for everything. It's always Kirk Cousins' fault.
I think that's because it's year 11, and eventually you are who you are. And yes. I think
I'm looking at this stat. Kirk Cousins has a
very good quarterback.
8,000 yards. 6,000 yards. 6,018 yards. 51 touchdowns. 9 interceptions. 9. And he's 0-17. He's 0-17.
In what? What's the
this coming season?
This coming season, he's 0-17.
Oh, that's what he's projected to be.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That was, all right.
But
I didn't know what those numbers were referencing.
Yeah, I'm just talking about. But Kirk Cousins gets blamed for everything.
Well,
he's
it's
on
also
pace for 51 touchdowns, and Kirk Cousins. I'll take 51 touchdowns here in Carolina.
For sure. I can understand that. For me, it's
6,000 yards? I'll take 6,000 yards to Carolina.
Last year, I think they were 11-0 in one possession games. No, listen. Last year, I believe they were. Well, last year they made the playoffs with a negative point differential and then promptly lost to the Giants.
And whose fault was that? Whose fault was it? Was Kirk Cousins' fault? Man, no, it wasn't, dog.
No, everyone got on the play call for having T.J. Hawkinson run behind the line of scrimmage with the season on.
That's Kirk Cousins' fault. That was Kirk Cousins. Kirk ran it. Man, it's not, bro. I just don't get it. Everybody keep talking about Kirk Cousins like Kirk Cousins is. Y'all make this seem like Kirk Cousins on the San Francisco 49ers, the old 80s team. He's playing with Roger Craig, Ricky Waters, Jerry Rice, T.O., John Taylor. Man, that is not the case, bro.
They've regressed to the mean as a team in terms of their luck in one-possession games. It's an unsustainable way to compete in this league. You can't constantly find yourself.
Why, though? Why?
I think the whole team's flawed, including him.
The whole team, the defense.
Yeah, the defense has been bad for years. I mean, they've drafted first-round corner after first-round corner.
I won't even use the word that I want to use.
Their corners don't even reach the end of their rookie deals because they either get cut or arrested. They have not done a good job.
Do not.
Yeah, they've done a really bad job addressing all of their defensive problems.
Is that what you're calling it? Really bad?
Terrible. Yeah, they're bad.
I can't even say what I'm thinking is so disrespectful. So I'm not even gonna say.
All fair. Right? All fair.
If I have a teammate who cannot dunk, who cannot dribble, why do I keep passing him the ball, playing a team that traps?
Stop throwing him lobs, yeah.
Or throw him lobs. You know, cotton picking Webb. He can't touch the rim. Why are you lobbing it to him?
But
he has shown you he cannot dunk, will not dunk, shall not dunk, but yet you keep giving him the NBA jam. You on NBA jam and then lob it up and get mad because when he catch it, he over there doing a finger roll.
At the bottom of the rim, yeah.
Yes.
But you're talking about the Jets, too. If he's a guy you don't think could perform under pressure, you think that offensive line's the one that's going to keep him upright? I don't think so.
Bro, I didn't say it was a foolproof, realistic, great point. I just was expressing if that could happen, I think it'd be cool. How about that?
Well, if I'm also the Jets, I don't have a second-round pick because I traded that for Rodgers. I'm not going to trade a first for Kirk Cousins because right now I could just go get Caleb. Like, my team's young. If I'm the Jets right now, I have a young team. Why not just, this season's a lot.
Here's why, though. You have such an elite defense that can help you, that puts you on the precipice of having a deep run in the playoffs. That defense is elite. But you got to have some kind of offensive firepower to get those guys off the field. And your quarterback is chipping away at your defense. When you have players on the field that long, that much on the field so early into the season, you cannot expect somebody to come up with some kind of injury because they are playing so many plays. Think about it. Can you imagine if the Denver Broncos continue on this trend of defensive plays? They had 100 plays ran on them. Mm-hmm. So if you have 100 this week, let's say 76 or 80 last week, and the same thing, bro, that's a full year of plays in the first 3 weeks.
Right.
Bro, that ain't good.
No, it definitely isn't. And you never want to just punt a season because you never know what could happen. But if I'm looking at it long term, all of my key players are second, third year guys. They're going to be here a while theoretically. You're right. The best laid plans never work out how you want them to. Their best laid plans were trade for Aaron Rodgers. So the plan A already didn't work. Plan B, I could very well see them in the mix for one of these top couple of picks. You could get that next young quarterback to grow with this team. That's where it's like, do I want to trade another asset? Because here's what happens. You start trading these assets, you end up like the Rams. You end up like the Rams where now you have no youth coming in. You have none of these next guys because you traded all your picks just for a patchwork team. And Kirk Cousins isn't the difference between the Super Bowl or not. Like, he's a guy who can get you to the playoffs and then lose in the first round.
He gives you a better chance than Zach Wilson.
No doubt. No doubt. There's no doubt. But Zach Wilson gives you a better chance to get that number 1 overall pick.
I don't like that. That's a hard sell in the locker room.
I understand that. That's where it's like teams don't tank, front offices do. But that's where the teams also can't trade. Like Garrett Wilson can't trade a first round pick for Kirk Cousins. Only the GM can do that. That's where the GM has to be.
I'm saying I do not believe that is the concept. They want to win. They do not want to be, next year. It's week 3, talking about next year.
No, I get it. I definitely get it.
Duke basketball. Can't be talking about, next year.
Yeah, we got a good recruiting class. Yeah, you can't.
Hey,
I get it.
Hey, can't wait till basketball season start. Like, you can't be doing that, man.
I get the players don't want to hear that. I fully understand. The front office probably doesn't want to be like, we're going in an extra half with no first or second. We get a hit on our third, and we still probably aren't going to win anything. We're just going to be more competitive. That's where I'd rather sign Matt Ryan. Like, all right, that keeps everyone in the locker room happy because it's still better than Zach Wilson, and we didn't give up any actual.
Up and starts making mistakes. I'm telling you, man, it got to be somebody that can move the needle. It has to be somebody that can take that offense longer than check down Charlie. Man, the sack and the safety he took, there were guys open. He was already set to run. He was like, look, first read, second read, third read. Man, he said first read, I'm out of here. He did not go through his progression. For Jets fans, I would say what a lot of you guys are thinking and feeling. Thoughts and prayers. All right. Talking about,
they're used to it. Luckily, they're used to it. This is nothing new for the Jets.
Here's a guy that you need to pay attention to. Honorable mention is just a guy highlighting the rookies. Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims statistically is gaining more yards than their starters. They have a guy who they believe he can play. I don't know what Marvin Mims did at Oklahoma, but I do not remember him playing kickoff and punt return. I do not. But he had a 99-yard return. And why is that important? We're talking about Quentin and Achane, situational football players, circumstances come in. Marvin Mims is showing you he has big playability. They're like, hey, we also got all these other guys. There's 53 men on the roster, only 46 or 47, the emergency quarterback thing. 46 guys can dress. And depending on the groups, some groups have 7 wide receivers. Some groups have 4 wide receivers that are only dressed. I'm guessing Mims is the 5th or 6th wide receiver, but he plays on special teams. So now you have him as a punt return, kickoff return. So he is, out of the 46 guys that are dressed, he now has dual position or 3-4 positions. He plays some parts of the wide receiver, kickoff return, punt return. And so now, out of the 46 dressed, you got some guys who have multiple roles. Sean Payton believes that this guy can play, so they're having him in different positions to display it, and I would anticipate and expect the 15 snaps he's gotten so far, 15 and 16 snaps, that it will increase. Because if he takes the ball at 99 yards, how about give him the ball in route running, get him in space and see if he could display that same speed, that same big play ability that he's displaying on special teams.
He has the opportunities they've given him, which has been very few and far between. But as bad as the Broncos' start has been, it's hard to say it's been on Russ. Russ has looked better so far this year. Now it hasn't shown up in the record, but they put up 20. Last year we repeated the stat every week. As long as the Broncos scored more than 17, those would have been wins. Now last year they weren't giving up 70 points, but the offense has looked much better. And if Russ can still do one thing, it is chuck it deep. He is your best deep ball receiver. He is also, I believe, the youngest player in football. So it's been wild to see him kind of step in and have an immediate impact when his number has been called.
Listen to this. Mims has 7 catches and 5 kickoff returns this year. Okay? 99 yards, 60 yards, 53 yards. Then there's receptions, 45, 38, 30, 30, 25. He has the longest gains thus far out of any Bronco consistently out of 3 weeks.
So we're talking about young wide receivers, and there's a couple of receivers. Really, it started years ago with a Hall of Fame receiver, Julio Jones. And my co-host Tyler from Troy Withers Show pointed this out. It was like, man, Julio's nice, but he's not scoring a ton of touchdowns. And then I'm watching Justin Jefferson's career. A lot of catches, not finding the end zone a lot. He got one this week, but the week before, even he gets an inch away, fumbles through the back of the end zone. Chris Olave, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, top 3 this year, yards without a touchdown yet. So I wanted to ask you, Agent 89, a man who had 89 career touchdowns, how difficult is it truly to fool 89 kick return and reception touchdowns? Okay. But you found pay dirt 89 times, 89 for 89. Love that stat about you. But what is so difficult?
I learned something.
And it sounds
I don't sit at home and look at my stats. So I was literally like,
that was pretty nice. Yeah, how about that? How difficult truly is it to find the end zone, to get in that 10-yard rectangle at the end of each side of the field?
That's such a complicated answer because there's so many different elements. You look at teams get in the red zone, defenses condense, they play a lot of zone. It's so complicated because it's such a smaller area. And it almost seems like coordinators get in their mind. We either got to spread everybody out and find a zone and throw it, or deliberately run a particular play, sprint right, sprint left, something that gets the defense moving, or it's literally some kind of play action, double move, a lot of window dressing that in the red zone compared to in the field it's all about timing. In the red zone, timing is disrupted so much with the zone and penetration and games running that it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Very rarely are you seeing passes being thrown 10 and under in the red zone. You kind of got to get in that fringe 15, 20, and 30 for you to really get. That's where they go for the gusto and go for a touchdown. It just doesn't happen, man. You're running it. The percentages, that's where the analytics come in. The percentages go way down. And it becomes difficult for wide receivers. That's why it's such a celebration when guys have 10+ touchdowns, because it's so hard to do it. But yet, 10+ touchdowns for a running back, a starting running back, man, easy. Mm-hmm. That's why a receiver catching a touchdown, especially in the red zone, is so rare. Like having a running back spring a 70-yard run for a touchdown. The game, it's just so competitive. And there's so many good football players, you just don't have it. That's why it's such a great game.
Yeah, there are just some guys. I mean, Tyreek, he can score from anywhere on the field, obviously.
But it's that offense. That offense.
Yeah, of
helps.
course. But it's like, and I know it's a tight end, but when Mahomes gets anywhere near the red zone, he seems to just be like, let me just. Yeah. That's what I mean. He's like, let me just feed my best guy. And that's where it seems like some teams just overcomplicate that. Now, I understand tight end, he's operating a different part of the field. They're going to pitch it to him sometimes. It's different. But when I think of Devontae Adams, he's consistently a guy who finds pay dirt from everywhere. Yeah. And I know he's probably the best in the league.
Not with Jimmy, though. Not with Jimmy. Let's go with this one. George Pickens.
Love him.
Do we have that video? Man, look at this video. I don't know what the hell George Pickens would think. But, son, this is unacceptable. You know what we're going to call this segment? Oh, hell no. What is he thinking? Okay, you got a good little play right here. Look at Kenny Pickens is going. George Pickens, he says, you know what? I got you. Why? Why? I don't understand what you were thinking and why you even think that's acceptable. Who are you going to hit? And then watch how yow, wow. Look, his back hurt. He got up and his back was hurt. He was like, oh.
Listen, I watched this play. I see a good teammate. I see a guy trying to get in the mix. He sees his other teammate. He's got the block downfield. He said, how can I help? How can I help in this situation? A clear penalty, blocking backwards towards the line of scrimmage, uncalled because he really didn't make contact with anyone with this judo backflip kick he attempted.
Yow! Hey, the best part is for a second, he was like, which one? Oh, yeah, I got you. Look. Yow! Well, watch when he gets up. Look, he's like,
Didn't even the other guy didn't even trip. Like,
he looked up. Look at this. Oh, hell no.
This play is the exact reason why I like George Pickens, because there's something different going on up here with him that I need in my locker room, that I need on my football field.
Yeah, there's something different going on. All right. Man, that elevator going on all them floors. Nope, not on this floor.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. When I saw, I couldn't believe it when I saw that.
I saw that. I said, boy. Wait till I see him. Wait till I see him. Oh, boy.
Let's break down. That definitely comes up. They're watching film today, yesterday, or whatever. Is that the first play the wide receiver coach pulls up? It has to be.
Everybody's bringing that up. You will not go through the day without that being shown in front of the team.
Is everyone laughing, especially because it's a win? Is everybody laughing, or is coach like, what the hell's wrong with you?
The win helps emphasize how terrible it is. In a loss, you probably just talk about it in the offense or with the receivers coach. Offense coach and receivers coach. But with a win, that clip is running on Wednesday or Monday, whenever. They're running that clip right there. You got to run that clip because it's a win, so everybody's feeling good. So you can talk about this in a healthy way, but you got to clown them though too, because yeah. And what makes it worse, he hit no one.
Nothing.
And how hard he fell.
There's no we love the effort. We love that you're trying something new.
Ain't none of that going on.
Week 3 in the books. Season's flying by. Feels like it just started. We're already looking at week 4.
No, it is not flying by. This thing This thing going at a Greyhound pace. We've been in traffic for 3 hours. We went 3 miles.
That baby screaming.
Yep. Baby screaming.
AC broke.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yep. Navigation system went out. Gas tank. Meter. You don't know if I got a third, a half, or a full. The only good thing is I filled it up last night, babe, so we good.
If nobody got me, I know upstairs got me. We're going to get there one way or the other.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm Steve Smith Sr.
Coley Mick.
This is Cut to It.